Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion, this time for March 19th, 2022. If you haven't heard already, there's quite a buzz in the weather community right now because there is expected to be a multi-day tornado outbreak. And so, because of that, I will be live streaming starting from Monday all the way through until Wednesday. Of course, I'm not going to do a 72-hour live stream. That would be kind of obnoxious, but I will be trying to live stream as much as possible. If I feel like there's a window of opportunity to where tornadoes will form, I more than likely will be live streaming for it. So expect me to be live streaming for hours. And we will have a chaser as well in the beginning of the event. When it's over in towards Monday, we will most likely have a chaser, maybe even two chasers with us when this event is ongoing. So please be sure to tune into the channel and stay up to date with my channel by turning on notifications, that little bell button. Now, if you guys could, please spread this information with as many people as possible, all right? This is more than likely going to happen, and someone, somewhere within this event is probably going to get impacted by a tornado. And if we just try and get the information out to more and more people, hopefully people can be more prepared more than anything, because we don't want to, spread fear and stuff like that. We want to try and inform people that this could happen, so that way they can make the correct decisions if they are in a certain situation. So please be sure to do that and to help me out in certain situations. So please be sure to do that, and please be sure to hit that thumbs up button down below to help me get this out to more and more people on YouTube. And without further ado, enough of me rambling. Where is this tornado outbreak more than likely going to occur? Well, we have to understand what's currently happening right now and see how this plays out all the way through so that we can try and determine as to where the event could be, as well as how significant it could be. So taking a look at the simulated radar from the Euro model, you can take a look and see that we have a low pressure system that is currently moving through the Great Lakes general vicinity, creating snow for the northern portions of the event and a lot of rain for the southern portions of the event, a lot of gusty winds. This will eventually move on through and create our severe weather risk for later on today, to where we could potentially see some tornadic activity up here towards Pennsylvania, as well as even into portions of New York and New Jersey. And then this will eventually continue to move on through further and further, and we'll have a little bit of a quiet period of weather here, especially on Sunday as this continues to progress. You can see that there's some snow still in the Rockies. Pacific Northwest gets quite a bit of precipitation over there, and then this is when things officially start to move on through. Our new low pressure system begins to develop here towards portions of New Mexico. It actually really starts to show here the lower levels of how it starts to mature. It eventually continues to move on further and further across the southern portions of the United States, and you can see how a lot of that moisture is now starting to congeal towards portions near Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and even further and further as this continues to move on through in towards portions of Mississippi, Tennessee, as well as Alabama and Georgia. And you can see how this continues to play out even further all the way until Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. As this continues to play out from then, you can see how this continues to extend further and further eastward. This massive boundary right here that continues to elongate your massive low pressure system up here as well. And then I can't even rule out a few inches of snow up here in the portions of the upper Midwest, but the big concern here is this giant line as this moves on through. Notice how slowly it moves off, all right? This is Wednesday morning right here, and the line was over here on Monday night. And so this line moves off very, very slowly, and you can assume that you've got a lot of showers and thunderstorms that are going to continue to move on that line, and it's going to just continue to move over this entire general vicinity. The coverage of this area is pretty vast, all right? There's a huge coverage. As a matter of fact, the Storm Prediction Center has already issued some outlooks here, including a 3 out of 5 in the severe weather scale on Monday, as well as a 30% chance for severe weather on Tuesday, and then additionally a 15% chance for severe weather on Wednesday. So we got to watch out for this as this continues to move on through. So we got to continue to monitor this. If you live in any of those areas in the dark green, the yellow, or the orange that you just saw pop up across your screen, you need to definitely watch out for this severe weather event, because there could potentially be some strong severe weather that could potentially produce a couple of tornadoes. So now let's kind of try and understand as to what makes this event tick. Why is this doing what it is? And as well as what are the positive and negatives here, the upsides, the downsides for this event here as this continues to move on through. So we're going to take a look first off at the upper level wind shear, the 500 millibar wind shear, which is about 6 kilometers above ground level, or a little under 4 miles above ground level. Now you can see how what's happening right now, you have a huge kind of swath of strong wind shear extending from Texas all the way up into the northeast, and that's because of our low pressure system that's up in the Great Lakes. So that kind of checks out. That's what we like to call a trough here. Whenever you see the jet stream kind of just veers off and dips down just like that, that is indeed a trough. On the other hand, if you ever see it loop up, the area below that loop is a high pressure system. That is what we like to call a ridge. So our trough moves on through, our ridge kind of sets in across the central portions of the United States, and then you can see our new intensifying trough that is moving on through towards portions of Arizona and New Mexico, and that is what's going to create our severe weather event. You can see it already has an enhanced level amount of wind shear as this moves on through, approaching the 100 knot general frame, which is about 110 miles per hour. That's pretty strong for a type of trough like this. And of course, as this ejects on through, this is going to become negatively tilted. You see how a lot of these isobars, these black lines, are tightly compact right within this area right here. And that right there, because it's more tightly compact in that area more than anything, is what we like to call a negatively tilted trough. If we kind of just draw a line here, it kind of looks like a negatively tilted graph. And so with that, that actually promotes some significant severe weather. Whenever we see that, we can expect to see at least some form of significant weather or strong weather. And because of that, we actually have a quite enhanced level of threat for severe weather on Monday into Tuesday. You can see the wind shear continues to be quite significant across the board here, now approaching the 110 knot frame, which is about 120 to 125 miles per hour. And that will continue to be the case as this moves on through even into Tuesday. The wind shear enhances quite significantly, and this is going to continue to amplify as this moves on through from Tuesday into Wednesday. So we can expect some very strong wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere with this one. So now if we look a little bit lower to the ground and take a look at our low level jet, which is about 1 kilometer above ground level or about a half a mile above ground level. This is our 850 millibar wind shear. And you can see how this progresses. We have our low pressure system that moves off in towards portions of California as well as the southwestern United States. This is expected to continue to create a lot of strong wind shear here out in front of this big low pressure. And because of that, we have a big ridge that kind of develops over here out ahead of this. And this is going to create a lot of very warm, moist flow from the Gulf of Mexico, streaming a lot of those very moist dew points in towards the general area of focus. And that's the reason why we can expect some severe weather across some of these areas. You can even see the low-level jet as this gets towards the general time period of when severe weather is expected to start to form. Our low-level jet's pretty strong here. Whenever it gets into the browns, that's when you know you have some very strong low-level jet activity. And it gets above that, gets up to 72 knots. You can see at the bottom right-hand part of your screen, it says right there. And man, oh man, that is some very enhanced level, low-level jet numbers here. And it only gets worse as it continues to progress. You can see the low-level jet continues to amplify, especially as it moves on through from Tuesday into Wednesday, and that is going to create a lot of severe weather across the board. You can see this massive low pressure system. Look at this big counterclockwise flow here from this entire system as this moves on through. So definitely something to watch out for, especially from the wind shear perspective. From the moisture perspective, well, we can see exactly what that low-level jet does. That moisture gets pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico, and now it starts to rise. We call that warm moisture advection, and then a big dry line develops over here in the central portions of Texas. So if we zoom in here, you can see that everywhere within this yellowy orangish is where you can expect your severe weather to be here, especially on Monday. You can see how across the board there is some very warm, moist dew points across the board in the upper 60s into the 70s. Of course, the closer you get to the Red River, that's when it starts to fan off and become a little bit more of a scattered shower, thunderstorm risk. So portions of Oklahoma and maybe even portions of Arkansas, can't really see them getting a whole lot of severe activity. But then as this moves on through, progresses from Monday into Tuesday, well, look at this. You still get a lot of warm, moist advection as this continues to move on through further and further to the east. You can see how vast these warm dew points actually expand here from Louisiana into Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, all the way through into portions of Georgia and Florida. You can see how that also continues to expand further. And then on Wednesday, a regional risk for severe weather is possible. for places like Georgia, the Carolinas, even into extreme southern Virginia, as well as even into portions of Florida. So definitely something to watch out for, especially as this continues to move on through. So what about CAPE amounts? Convective available potential energy, which for some people who don't know, that's basically the displacement between the warm air rising and the cold air sinking in the atmosphere. Because, of course, the higher and higher you get in the sky, the colder and colder it gets. And so whenever you have warm air to the ground and you have cold air in the sky, naturally that warm air wants to rise, the cold air wants to sink. And so the displacement between the two can be measured in an energy level. And the more energy, the higher the chance for thunderstorms to either form or sustain. And if you get a lot of it, they could even become significant too. So you want to look for about, I'd say 1,800 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE in order for you guys to get substantial amount of severe weather activity. And as this continues to progress here, according to the North American model, well, we have that. You can see across the board in some of these oranges and yellows, we have 2,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram. That is substantial amounts of CAPE that is in this environment, and you can expect severe weather to more than likely occur within this general vicinity. And that is going to continue to linger even into the overnight threat. All right, the overnight threat, in my opinion, is a sleeper risk. A lot of people are talking about what's happening in the afternoon and the evening. If stuff forms here in the overnight threat, you have a substantial amount of CAPE, specifically north of Houston, north of Beaumont, towards the general vicinity of the Jasper and Lufkin areas, all right? Over there in Texas, especially as you get closer and closer towards the border of Texas and Louisiana, guys need to watch out. Could potentially be an overnight threat over there, so you guys really need to monitor that. And then as this continues to progress further and further, well, you can see CAPE continues to exist over in towards portions of Louisiana and Mississippi. You can see how about 1,000 to 1,800 joules per kilogram is possible across portions of Louisiana and central to southern portions of Mississippi. So I would say the general area of the Interstate 20 vicinity from Jackson and Meridian and down south, you guys need to watch out for your severe weather. All right, that's where I can expect the severe weather to be on Tuesday for you all. And then, of course, as we continue to progress this over from Tuesday into Wednesday, you can see there are some areas to where they do have an enhanced level amount of CAPE, but it's not as much as the days before. The maximum amount here within some of these areas I'm seeing is about 1,200 to 1,500 joules per kilogram. So you do have enough CAPE for severe weather, just this, not the significant severe weather that we were seeing on the previous couple of days. But still, something to watch out for. Carolinas, North Carolina, as well as Georgia and Florida could potentially see some severe weather there on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, could potentially see something over there along the Outer Banks, even into portions of Raleigh, as well as Norfolk and Richmond. So definitely something to monitor there as we get closer and closer. A multi-day severe weather outbreak, or even tornado outbreak, if you will, for the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. All right, so let's try and get an idea as to where this activity could potentially be. And we'll look at the simulated radar here from the North American model. And the activity with precipitation starts to kind of form across the board over here in Texas and Oklahoma. But if you're over into like northern portions of Oklahoma and Kansas, this isn't really that big of a risk for you all right? You guys are probably going to see some strong damaging winds for the most part. The big threat here is along this line here in Texas. You can see these little yellow dots along the line. These are supercells, guys, all right? These are supercells along the line that are moving on through. And this is the type of activity that could potentially produce your tornadoes. So definitely something to monitor with that. You can see how that continues to be the case even into the overnight hours. You can also see there's another line that forms back behind the original line that pushes on through, which still has supercells, by the way. And that'll continue to move off in towards portions of Mississippi and Louisiana. And you can see a big line that starts to develop even behind this. Of course, I do think there's going to be showers and thunderstorms that could potentially form out in front of the big line. So that's still something we're going to have to monitor. But multi-day severe weather event is likely here for portions of eastern Texas all the way through into Louisiana and Mississippi, starting from, I'd say, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock central, areas along the I-35 corridor from Dallas all the way down to Waco and Austin. That's when thunderstorms are probably going to start to form, and then they'll move on through and continue to expand in coverage as it moves further and further east. So watch out for that if you guys could. So I hope this video was informational for some people. Please be sure, once again, if you live within these areas, you need to go ahead and start preparing. I would say, sometime today into tomorrow, because on Monday, if these storms start to form across some of those areas, like some of the models say, then you probably won't have enough time to go ahead and get prepared. If you're in a mobile home, please have a plan of action to get to a sturdy structure. If you are under a tornado warning, try and go to a local gas station or some sort of supermarket, something like that, so that you guys may be able to ride out the storms. Or even if you have a friend that has a actual house, you know, like a single story or multi-story house with a basement, basement's preferred, or a storm shelter, please get in contact with them and say, hey, can I ride out the storms with you guys? I'm not comfortable in a mobile home. And they'll understand. They'll allow you to stay within your their area, and hopefully you guys can ride that out. So please be sure to get the information out if you guys can. Remember, hit the like button down below to get this out to more and more people on YouTube. Copy the link to the video, spread it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe if you're new, if you did enjoy the content. I will be uploading a video tomorrow night. It'll be late tomorrow night, however, because I will be getting back from... So please be sure to be on the lookout for that video tomorrow night if you can. Also, please be sure to follow me on social media, Twitter, Discord, and stuff like that. I will be trying to upload information on Twitter when I can, so please be sure to follow me. All the links for that in the description down below. And once again, I will be live streaming on Monday, Tuesday, more than likely on Wednesday as well. And if it's significant enough, maybe even on Thursday. So multi-day live stream for us here on the channel. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Nate, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.